Now, Wither the textbook. We have a report on a North Carolina school district that's taken digital learning to a whole new level. It comes from John Tolenko of Learning Matters, which produces education stories for the NewsHour.
Kids today spend a lot of time with technology, but for the most part, it's happening outside school. That's a concern to educators like Mark Edwards.
I think that's a huge issue. I think that there's a disconnect for a lot of kids when in their world they're seeing a whole array of technology. And, you know, it might be with games, or it might be with music, or it might be with a variety of things in their home. And they go to school and it's like going back in time.
So just so that we go over this again, you're creating your iWeb, right? Your digital.
But it's different in the schools Edwards runs in Mooresville, North Carolina.
So what projects are those that you're putting on there?
3 years ago, the district began giving laptops to every student and teacher from high school down to 4th grade, some 5,000 computers in all. While computers have been around in public schools for more than 20 years, this is one of the only districts in the country that's gone entirely digital.
Okay, which one did you find? Let's go back to that side. Okay.
It's completely changed things for teachers like Kristen Fauché,
What are we going to search?
whose class was studying sharks.
They always talk about the big hook, the first 5 minutes of a lesson to get the kids excited about what you're going to learn. Well, I feel like with the computers, you have the hook the whole time.
Fauché's class was divided into 3 groups. One was watching videos online. Another was researching on the internet. And these students were learning from an electronic textbook.
You're reaching auditory learners because they can listen to things on the computer. You know, you've got the visual learners, you've got the kinesthetic where they have the interactive. You know, you can reach just by the computer all learning styles.
Do you have more fun in school this way?
Yep.
Oh, that was a big response.
I like it a lot.
What do you like about it?
I think I'm learning a lot more in 4th grade. Because if we have to have a question, it's easier to get it from the computer than the dictionary.
In this district, almost everything's online, from classwork to homework. And tests are graded by computer.
4 years ago, if they took an assessment, you know, I would have to sit up at night and grade every paper. And, you know, it might be 2 or 3 days. And now it is immediate feedback. And I'm able to adapt my teaching and, you know, constantly change what I'm doing.
We talked about why the author put the first verse. And
Computers have also changed Bethany Smith's 8th grade English class.
I was a dictator, and I told the students, this is what I want you to do. And they would all follow along like robots and get it done. But I definitely have taken a step back. How does that add to the poem?
Now when Smith gives her students an assignment, they can choose to do it as a podcast, a digital comic strip, or even a movie. This is a student's book report.
I'm Maddie. I'm the oldest daughter. My younger sisters are Abby, Lo, and Beth. Our mother died, so we have to...
You know, but I can still see people saying, well, that's great, but it's not as good as a written paper in which they'd have to really spell out their ideas.
I would disagree. Essentially, they're writing a paper without me saying, you're writing a paper. Instead, I say, you need to write a script for your final product. Their excitement's coming from their own work. They're doing things. You're not just filling their bucket up with information and saying, please remember this.
The Raven.
In another class, students were learning about mood and tone in poetry by setting it to music.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded...
What do your parents say when you bring this kind of work home?
They were always saying how amazing it was because they never had this kind of technology when they were kids.
These students are ahead of me when it comes to technology in a lot of ways, and I can learn from them.
Chris Gammon students were using their laptops to do research online.
And when they're going out online, what are you doing to make sure that the information they're getting is correct?
Well, one key thing is we are able to find websites beforehand, previewed by me. If they get to a point where they say, all right, I'd like to go further, well, they do an excellent job of double checking to make sure that is this credible and citing their sources and doing that stuff.
How often does it happen that you give them an assignment and then instead of doing that, they'll be off playing a game or something?
Well, I think that it is a reality that that's going to happen, but I'm also moving around constantly because I need to see what's on their screens and what they're doing.
So here's something with some clearly inappropriate language. What is
Also watching is the middle school's principal, Carrie Tolbert. From her computer, she can pull up the screen of any student.
So I've just randomly brought up 4 different desktops, and I can click on one of these and bring it up, and she's taking a test right now.
It looked like someone was playing a game.
Let's go back. This one, maybe.
Is this something to do with class, or is this just how to play pool better?
It could be either one. I can send a message, and you can see it pop up on his screen, and he's clicked back onto what his history page is that he's supposed to be back on. So he realizes that he was caught in the act, and then he stopped doing it.
To prevent students from going where they're not supposed to, Mooresville also blocks sites like YouTube, MySpace, and Facebook. To see how far the limits go, we did some searches of our own. Hate crime was blocked. Gun control, blocked. Terrorism, blocked.
Is there something strange about blocking information in a school that's supposed to be an intellectually open place?
No, I really don't think so, because I know that, and if you look at education over the years, and if we talked about, well, what was blocked before technology, they say, well, a ton of information. Everything was blocked that wasn't in this one book.
But even if computers do make more information available, across the country, it's not done much to lift student performance. Most schools have had some internet access for years, and yet achievement scores for the nation as a whole have barely budged. Mark Edwards says it's a question of commitment.
I've seen a lot of cases where we invested in technology, but it was minute, and an hour a week. I think we've dabbled in it rather than really diving in.
But just giving computers to everyone won't work either. What counts more is planning. Mooresville gave its teachers their laptops a year in advance, along with ongoing training and a help desk in every school. Investments that in Mooresville have begun paying off.
We have seen gains in content areas across the board. It's early. Graduation rate has gone up fairly dramatically. Dropout rate has gone down. Suspension rates have dropped dramatically.
So how much does all this cost? About $200 per student per year. But much of that money comes back. Edwards says laptops haven't added to the district's costs.
Most districts that have visited us have said, this is a financial model. We can do this.
Where have you saved?
Well, we've saved in terms of books, print cost, paper cost.
Do you buy textbooks anymore?
I'll quote our high school principal, divorce proceedings are underway.
In Edwards' view, it's schools' responsibility to stay up to date.
You know, for years we would tell students, we're going to prepare you for your future. But their experience in school didn't have much to do. I would say that would be the same to telling a student, we're going to prepare you to drive a car, so get on this horse. And it doesn't, the kids say, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to be riding a horse. And so a lot of kids in school said, let's get off that horse.
Soon, Edwards plans to bring his message to Washington, D.C. to testify about computers in schools.